welcome back. So if you just watched my Taito Pack 1 series, we're going to go through Taito Pack 2 this time. Talk about 4 new titles. We got Chack'n Pop, Elevator Action, Operation Wolf, and Zookeeper. Alright, so these are tables that are considered Atgames originals, and they retail for $35 on the 4K and $30 on the HD as of right now. That may be changing, but as we stand, we have these packs available. I think they're quite good in general. They're all 4K. They are 60 FPS. They play quite well. They all have really noticeable and very recognizable IPs in most part. Not everybody knows Chack'n Pop. I understand that. That one in particular is kind of more of a rarity for me. It's not one that I played a lot as a kid. But it's one that was around. Elevator Action I certainly played a lot of. Zookeeper was very prominent in my day. So we'll get started, see what you guys think of these. Chack'n Pop. So this one we start out with a problem. Chack'n Pop, as good as this table looks and plays, it is kind of broken. There's a scoring bug in this one that we've been able to find throughout the play time on this one. The majority of the scoring in this table is done at these drop targets right here. And after you hit these targets a few times, they stop coming back up. And that bug has really damaged the replay value of this table, especially for tournaments such as Flipper Friends. And it really hurts the table. I love the music, I love the theming, the bright reds, the bright yellows. It has has a nice pop to it. Ironically, Chack'n Pop, that was not intended. I think I did show on my last review that they do have afternoon, evening, and morning color settings so that you can adjust a little bit if you're in a darker environment if you want. Sound effects kit all sound really good on all of these tables. And we'll get started, see what you guys think of it. This one has 4 flippers. You see 2 here and 2 here. Really punchy sound effects, especially on this one. Spinners sound incredible. Love spinners. I love spinners and orbits in general, so I really appreciate a design that incorporates both of those two things in a really nice way. Sounds so good. Love that sound effect. And as we mentioned, this bug, I'm hoping maybe we can show it, but it might not present itself quite in the limited gameplay time that we have. So we'll see if it happens or not. But we're going to try to knock down those targets a few times and see if we can't get them to not drop it, to not come back up. Get into these bumpers and get it up into these drop targets in the upper right here. It's these 5 guys right here. And obviously I'm not scoring particularly well, but if I was to knock all these things down 2 or 3 times, it's usually a couple times. You get into them a few times and then they just stop working. It's really disappointing. And that time they actually did come back up. Get them to do it. Love the sound effects. Really, for all these IPs from Taito, I think they did a really good job utilizing the artwork and the music. Not always, the playfield doesn't always make the most sense. In particular, the marquee IPs. So, and we'll talk about that a little more later too. If you watch the Taito Pack 1, I kind of mentioned it with the Space Invaders. But at any rate. Nudges on these are all super reactive. That's more a review of the 4K doing its job. Does a really nice job with that. That's a quick game of Chack'n Pop. So if I had to rate this one, the biggest problem with this one, it has to be that scoring bug. If you play this game casually, you're not even gonna notice it probably. You're gonna lose a ball, they're gonna drop back, you're gonna pop back up. It's not gonna be that big a deal. But if you're super competitive and you wanted to play this as a competitive table with some friends, even in your house or on tournaments, those not popping back up is going to be a real problem for you. So with that in mind, I would probably give this one a 6 at best. I feel like if they did a patch for that, it would clean it up and get it back to normal. I think this table could be worth a lot more. I would definitely get it to a 7, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I could go much higher than that. There's better themes for sure, but I like the colorful aspect of this one. I think this one's going to really appeal to girls in particular. If you have girls in the house that maybe like pinball, if you threw this in the pinball machine, I think they're really going to enjoy it. And particularly on the micro, if you have a micro or an HD, it's something that they'll pick up and really want to play. And they're probably not going to notice the bug anyway. So, at any rate, I would give this one a 6. Okay, next up, I'm going to go to elevator action. Now, if you played elevator action, you know the wonderful sound effects that it has, where you're kind of swooping into the tower at the top of the skyscraper and things like that. Awesome music. I love the artwork on this one's almost looks like Spy versus Spy kind of thing going on. You have your character here who is actually brown hair here, and then he's blonde on the back glass, which is kind of interesting. Not sure what I think they kind of went with like a James Bond kind of a theme, and I think they had to change it when they boiled down to it for licensing reasons, things like that. I'm sure there's some history with that with the actual arcade game, but so you'll definitely notice all the wonderful music in this right away. Again, pretty basic gameplays for most of these. These are, I guess these would be considered like EMs or solid state games in general. They're all pretty good. They're not super complex. They don't have verticality to them. They're basically flat pinball machines, which makes them easier to play. A little easier to understand for the most part. Mostly drop targets, spot targets, spinners, things like that. You're going to collect specials. Really for most of the tables, to be honest. They do make them more simplistic. So if you're not going to like an EM or a solid state, maybe these aren't for you. Maybe you'd want to go with the deluxe tables that have a little more variety, have some modes associated with them. That might be something that you're looking for. But just keep that in mind when you're looking at these tables, that they are in fact EMs and solid states. So they're not going to be based. They are based around the same years that the games were created. So a lot of these are 80s. So during that time, the pinball machines were electromechanical and solid state. So just know what you're getting into. You're not going to get any modes in this one. You're not going to have to hit 4 spot targets and then drop it in a start mode hole and have to do ramps or anything like that. These are all pretty simple games. Very rudimentary rule sets. In fact, if you look at the rule sets on theirs, they're very simple. This one in particular has 4 simple things. If we looked at all of them, you'd kind of see something very similar to that. They don't have a lot going on. Very easy to pick up and play, and in that simplicity comes the beauty of them, quite frankly. So if I had to rate this one, this one's pretty basic to me. The outlanes are not too bad. It doesn't do anything special for me. Unless you just really like the cool music with this one. I do like that when the capture hole kicks out, you get that kind of that sound effect coming down the skyscraper and things like that. It is very reminiscent of its IP. I think it does a nice job of that. I could easily give this one a 7. It's super playable. It doesn't do anything special, ironically, to make it better than any of the other ones, to be honest. But if you like the IP, you're good. I mean, there's not really much to these tables, to be honest. So if you like the IP, you're in. You're golden, and you're going to like it. So I'd give this one a 7. There's nothing much to it. Knock down some spot targets there, spot targets there, spot targets there. Get the specials. You're going to get a yellow special and a red special. Not much to it. As you can see in the rule set, there's just not much to it. But it's still a fun table. All right. On to our marquee IP for this one. Operation Wolf. Now again, if you watched my Taito Pack 1 review, you'll know that this one is more of a tower defense. There's going to be power-ups. You start with 5 pinballs, and you will be basically plunging and plunging and plunging to knock down digital targets that will walk down the playfield, and they will be trying to kill your target or your gun targets across the playfield. And if you can keep those afloat, you can play this game for easily 45 minutes. The fact that it is not a traditional pinball machine, I typically knock these down for that reason. I'm not a big fan of them. Some people will really appreciate them. I think kids in general would really like these. You could step up to the pinball table, really play a good solid table and feel like you did something. So in that regard, I think there's a lot of value there, especially for kids. And they play really good on the HD and 4K. These are all 4K 60 on the 4KP, but they're super crystal clear. The ball is quite big and bulky on all of these. The music is fantastic. The back glasses all look good. So, yeah, we'll get started. Lock and load. Got a little bit of digitized speech. Sound effects are good on all of these. We've already heard that. The sound effects kit makes these games so much better across the board. As I mentioned in the Space Invaders one, though, these games tend to have a lot more bugs to them. You will have balls get stuck behind ramps and targets. If you are freezing enemies on screen, which you're freezing targets all the time, you will get a ball that's stuck in a place that you can't get to it. For a lot of times, you'll end up having to pause and go reset ball. You'll have to do that a lot later in the game. There's going to be an opportunity where you have a multi-ball going on. You got a huge score going, and now you're stuck in the ball up here at the top is stuck. You're going to have to do reset ball to get it to go back down to the plunger to replunge. That type of stuff is really frustrating, and it really detracts from the games, I think. And the outlanes on this one are absolutely brutal. You've already seen I've lost 3 balls already. If I lose all 5, I'm dead in the water. If I knock out this soldier here, I will get to phase 2. So there, I will completed stage 1. I get an extra ball. You'll notice on the back on the DMD, I got an extra ball. A very basic DMD, by the way. Here's more characters, and you'll see now I have 2 spots to defend. Now, anytime on these, you can pick up power-ups just by playing the table. Here, I have to hit the spinner a certain number of times to get an extra ball. So you'll see I have 11 more spins. I have, with the slingshot, you can get a fireball or a tornado. You have missiles and lightning bolts up at the top. And you have these soldiers down here that will actually shoot as well based on these drop targets up here. So you don't have to wait for a plunge, it just plunges by itself. I'm sorry, you do have to plunge yourself. It's not going to auto plunge for you unless it resets a ball. But again, luckily I had a kickback that time, so I got that ball back. Stage 2 is complete. The heart is actually a way to gas everybody on the table, which I think is quite interesting. It's one way to do it. It is the same on Space Invaders, Operation Bubble Bobble in that regard. It's kind of sad to me that they take their best IPs and give them the kind of the tower defense gameplay mechanic. Well, like I said, I think they're going to really appeal to kids. There is a joy in that. You can play these games for a long time, although they are not very high scoring. It can be disappointing. Psychologically, you're going to play and you just don't get a lot of points, and it's disheartening. I know a lot of people will pick up a game like Attack from Mars, and they can play terribly, but they've got 1.5 billion points, and I'm like, yeah, I did really good. So, at any rate, that is Operation Wolf. If I had to rate this one, I would give this one a 6. It's the weakest of the 3 main IPs, I think. The characters don't look particularly good. They can be a little tough to see on the green background. The outlanes in this one are very tough. You have a lot of things about the outlanes all the time. And it just generally is not that great. So, if you like Operation Wolf as an IP, you're going to like it. I mean, Yes, you can play it. Yes, you'll see some bugs here and there. You'll overlook them. It's not too big of a deal. You reset the ball here or there. But it is what it is. So that's how I'd rate that one. Okay, that's Operation Wolf. Next up, we have Zookeeper. Zeke and Zelda. So that's kind of funny. Zelda is his girlfriend in this one. Zeke is your main character. And again, a very good arcade game. If you remember, you were trying to lay down bricks to keep the animals in the zoo. In this one, it's all about getting hole scores. So you're going to get a hole score here. There's a multiplier here, and there's a drop target with a capture hole here to kind of gain points. Again, this is one that if you looked, I talked about it a little bit on the Taito Pack 1. This had a very different layout when it originally released on HD, so if you'd seen it before and you haven't purchased it yet, there was actually an orbit here that they actually took out in this one. A lot of time they put an orbit in, this one they took out, so it's kind of interesting. Just a little different gameplay to it. Sound effects on these are all, again, very, very good. I love that they use the sound effects and music from the actual games. Obviously, that's what the licensing is all about. These sound effects are so cool. Very punchy, in your face, they sound amazing. Really like Zookeeper. This is a fun table. I think the sound effects really go a long way in making this one of the better tables of the pack. In fact, I would say that this is my favorite of the packs, my favorite of this particular pack. If I had to play one game in this pack, this is the one that I would play. And I would give this one a solid 9. I think this is a lot of fun. The outlines are not too sticky, to be honest. If you lose anything, it's right straight down the middle. The gap is pretty large. And it's usually, you can recognize it pretty quickly that it's going to be there, so if you know that's going to be a thing, you can do kind of a slap nudge or whatever to get the ball back. But you have some control here. Like, you can really see how the ball will actually, you see the flipper even bounce a little bit. The physics are pretty good on these. Some of the Magic Pixel tables, a lot of them have center posts, and these do not. Any of these Taito tables do not. And they make them super playable tables. Obviously, again, we're still looking at EM solid state era of games. It's super, super fun. Really like this table. It's a solid 9 for me. The sound effects really make it a joy to play. Again, we have very simple rule sets. If you look at the rules on these, again, very, very simple. Do mind that some of these rule sets actually have typos in them. It'll say that it's 100,000 points, and it's actually 10,000 points, things like that. So just know that that's a thing. There's a couple instances where I've seen that across the games where maybe they had a scoring thing once upon a time and they changed it and didn't update the rule set. So something to be known of, so that you know about it, that it does in fact happen. Sound effects all really, really good. Oh, I nudged that one out actually. So nice bonus at the end there. This one's a solid 9. So what do we think of the actual pack? So again, this one is going to be $35 for the 4K version and $30 for the HD version. These are an absolute steal on the HD systems because they represent some of the best games that you can get on the HD ecosystem, whether it be the micro or the HD system. On the 4K, at $35, they're a little bit harder to swallow, but they are still very, very good games. These are games that people are going to want to play. They represent IPs that people are familiar with and really are going to enjoy. I think as a whole, I think this pack is very good. Despite having some of the weaker tables, I think this is the weakest of the 3 Taito packs. It's probably the one that you'll get last. And in that regard, I think I would probably give this pack maybe I'd give this pack a 7. Like, it's a really good pack. I think you're getting realistically 3 good tables. In Operation Wolf, you either like it or you don't. My only problem with Chack'n Pop is the scoring bug, which many of you probably won't even notice. So it is what it is. But I would give this pack a 7. So we'll stop there. I really appreciate you guys watching this review. I hope that you guys got a little taste of what you wanted to see here. I hope that you'll consider liking, subscribing, or let me know what I did wrong. We'll see you guys on the leaderboards. And as always, if you let's go do it this way. Just remember, you only need one ball for greatness. Keep plunging. Retro Tech.